thanks for being here for this meet and greet. We're gonna get to know Rajeev and Jordan, and I have some questions prepared. If you do too, feel free to ask. Why don't you put your question in the chat if you can? That way, and I'll just sort of moderate. But you can also, or just do what you want. We are recording this, just so you know, so that we can share it as well. But and I'm going to keep watching the participants, see if anybody else shows up. But Rajeev and Jordan, welcome. We're so glad that you are here among us at the local church. This is your welcome party. So, yes. Yeah. And I think as a sign of God's like prevenient grace that goes ahead of us, I think we should all just clap right now, because you haven't done anything and yet we still love you and God does too. You don't have to earn it. It just is. It just is. So I would love, and Rajeev, maybe you start. Jordan, you go after Rajeev, but like 30 seconds to a minute on, if somebody asks you, hey, who are you? What's your deal? How would you respond to that?
What's my deal?
What's your deal?
Oh, man. So I love the state of Virginia. I mean, Richmond, Virginia is my home. Brett and I went to the same high school, which is also really cool.
Rajeev knows my brother.
Yeah, I graduated with him, John. But what's my deal? I love people. I mean, I love diversity. I went to Virginia Commonwealth University. So if you know anything about VCU, I think we had representation from almost every country in the world there. I'm Indian. My dad's an eye doctor. My mom's a financial advisor. I'm the only one in my family who also didn't really go into science. My brothers are doctors. I am in ministry, and I did urban planning and government in my undergrad. And what else? My favorite movie is The Waterboy. I don't know if The Waterboy is my favorite movie. I could watch that movie 10 times in a row and not get tired of it.
Do you find yourself just quoting it during the day? Like, is it that embedded?
All the time.
Do you have a favorite quote or favorite line?
Well, my favorite scene really is when the professor who looks like the Colonel Sanders from KFC, he asks, why are crocodiles ornery? And then Bobby says, well, because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush. And and he's wrong, and then Bobby tackles the professor. So that's my favorite. That's my
when you're
favorite
brushing your
thing from
teeth in the
Waterboy.
morning, does that just like, is that what's there,
No, but from now on, it probably will be.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So that's your deal. Waterboy and diversity and VCU and urban planning? Is that? Yeah, wow. That's awesome.
And I play Ultimate Frisbee, like, competitively. So that's another... Cool. I'm also active. I'm not just, like, always sitting.
You're not just sitting watching Waterboy over and over again.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so glad you're here. Jordan, what's your deal?
What's my deal? I hail from the great state of Texas, and like most Texans, we have a little bit of an ego about it. It is a great state. If you haven't been, you should go when it's safe. Yeah, I'm from Houston. I went to Stephen F. Austin State University. So if you're a Carolina fan, it's good for you. If you're a Duke fan, probably bad for you.
We rejoice with those who rejoice, right?
That's what my small state school is known for basketball, but I have a vocal performance degree from there, which is super fun. Yeah, I came to Duke 2 years ago. I'm really sad this is my last year, but it's really awesome to be working with really cool people. I don't have a favorite movie, but I have favorite musicians. My favorite band right now I've been listening to is called Lawrence, and they have such a fun vibe. You should check them out. They just released a song called Quarantine with You. If you're interested in checking that one out, they're my favorite band, and I know a lot about them. So.
Is that Lawrence, Lawrence, like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
It was a fun vibe.
All right.
Yeah, their dad wrote Miss Congeniality. It's a brother-sister duo. I know too much about this band. It is.
Oh, wow.
Rajeev, what about you? Is there a band or musician that has had significant impact on your life?
Um, yes. So the Red Hot Chili Peppers are my favorite band of all time. Um, that's probably a really bad answer, but I play guitar, and the first song that I ever learned how to play on the guitar was a Chili Peppers song, and the first music video I ever watched was by the Chili Peppers. It was Danny California in 2006 when they made their big comeback after like 5 or 6 years of no music. Um, and ever since then, I've just been into the Chili Peppers. I love all music. I mean, I even love country. Like I listen to a lot of country as well. Um, but I also went through a phase, and I guess I would say I'm still in that phase of like really hardcore, like screaming music.
Yeah.
But the Chili Peppers are a band that has had a lot of influence on me.
So the significant impact that it's had, is that your hearing? Is that it's you
Yes.
can hear
Yeah, sure.
the impact? Uh, Jordan, other than Lawrence, any other band or musician that's had a significant impact in your life? Both of you are musicians, and so I imagine this might be an easy question for you.
Yeah, I guess I got my start. My degree was in classical singing, and I got my start in love for that with musicals. So I always have to shout out some of my favorite musicals that got me started in performing, which was Oklahoma, which is I'm sure everyone is familiar with. I'm trying to think of other. My favorite musical right now is Fortunately Hamilton, which everyone else loves. It's
You
a very
said
fun.
unfortunately or fortunately?
No, Fortunately.
Yeah.
Because now everyone else loves it. I also love In the Heights by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I think it's his better of his musicals. It's a contested narrative, and that's okay.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, on the topic of Hamilton, favorite song from Hamilton? Like, what's the one that you just won't get tired of ever?
Nonstop.
Okay.
I could listen to that song nonstop. Is that too punny?
Nice.
I don't know.
Nice.
Probably the Schuyler Sisters. Well,
Sure.
give you a little pep in your step.
Dan in the chat says most Texans are not big fans of Oklahoma.
Oof.
Oh.
It's
any-
and OU still sucks. Sorry.
I've got.
Okay, well that's good.
I've got more questions, but does anybody else have one? What's one thing you do every day, and when do you do it?
Huh?
Things I do every day. When do I do it?
I make a cup of coffee at about 7:38 each morning.
Yeah.
7:38. Like what?
Because like the alarm goes off at 7:30, but it takes at least 8 minutes to get downstairs.
Sure.
Right.
And that's pretty good. 8 minutes. It's pretty good.
Oh man.
This morning was. Like
I hate questions like this because I have no schedule like that. This is a really dumb answer, but I take my Claritin every day at 8 o'clock in the morning
Allergy meds.
because I cannot function without my. I mean, it's right here, my 24-hour Claritin. I need to have that every morning. So.
Wow.
I feel that way about Zyrtec, so I'm with you.
Yeah, Zyrtec.
the stuff.
With you, Rajiv. Krista says, what cartoon character you best identify with?
Ooh.
It's a great question.
I haven't watched a cartoon in a long time.
I want to say
Not even like an animated movie?
I guess I watched those. I would say, because I loved the Powerpuff Girls as a child, probably Blossom from the Powerpuff Girls. I will give you all these stereotypical answers from henceforth, but I
This
was
is how we learn
Blossom
about
for
you.
like
This is...
3 Halloweens in a row, so I was committed. Minus
All
the
in.
red hair. That did not happen.
I would probably say Squidward from SpongeBob because Squidward is like that neighbor who is always concerned about what's going on in the neighborhood and is always like upset with. I mean, I'll just tell you right now, like back home, there's this one kid and he has a super loud car and he always drives it really fast on the road. And every time he drives it, I'm just like, oh my goodness. Like, does he need to go that fast? Does he need to go, like, be that loud? I think Squidward would feel the same way. But Squidward also knows how to have fun and when to have fun. And he's a really great partner to have fun with. So I identify with Squidward a lot.
Have you had fun with Squidward before? Like, are you speaking from experience here?
I don't think so. I just I watched SpongeBob all the time growing up, and
So
I
in
just
some
love
ways you have.
Squidward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Sure.
Huh.
So, Hannibal, I was going to ask best book, but I like this question better. What's the worst book that you've
Worst
ever
book.
read, and why?
So many
This one right here.
There are so many.
I hate this book.
Lord of
I-
the Flies.
I hate this book. I just don't like the kids. I don't like any of the things that they do on the island. I think
Yeah.
it's just savagery, and I didn't learn
So-
anything from it.
Why do you have it so close? Yeah.
How did you have it readily available?
Yeah.
I like the I like the aesthetic of a bookshelf, and I have all my books on my bookshelf.
You could
But
donate
it
that
was just
book
right
for a
there.
better book.
Yeah, I think Jordan has some a valid point there. You could donate it for
I could.
yeah.
Right. Someone
We're gonna
else.
have a book drive for
Online.
Rajiv, but only
Friends at the library.
I could do that too.
that's amazing.
It doesn't have to just stare at me all the time.
On the free table at the div school.
Yeah, it's a
There
great
you
place
go.
for it as well.
Jordan, what about you?
I actually had this conversation with someone last week regarding like the worst books we read in high school, and it was in conjunction with our favorite books we read in high school.
Please pull
So
it from right
I-
next to you. Please.
I do
please
not-
tell me it's right next to you.
Yeah, I love this book, but this is the only book I have near me.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, I do not like Jane Austen. I know I'm supposed to. I
Oh
know.
man, Allie looks really offended.
I know, I'm so sorry, Allie. I do not. This is a whole conversation that we had because we were talking about how I really loved Great Expectations, which is it's a book a lot of people do not like.
Mhm.
And I really liked that, but I did not like Pride and Prejudice or Emma. And one of my friends was like, Jordan, they're written the exact same way. And I was like, I can't tell you why. I just don't like it. And so there's no rhyme or reason. I'm sorry. I have read them. I have tried. I'm so
That's fair.
sorry.
So you would say that's the worst, though? Is
I
and
that or
Prejudice?
like Twilight. I mean, because it's like well written. I just didn't like it. In my
Right.
opinion, I didn't like it. And
sure,
So
sure.
the worst book I've ever read is probably Twilight or something I read when I was 13. You know.
Uh-huh. I feel really old. You were 13 when Twilight came. Cool. All right, moving on. That's a great question. What about like variation on a theme? Least favorite book of the Bible?
Are we allowed to have least favorite books?
Yes,
You can-
I asked
yeah.
that question too.
You can have feelings. It does, and your least favorite can still be, better than Lord of the Flies or Pride and Prejudice, right? But
Oh man, I mean, I'd probably say like Revelation, just because I'm scared of it and I haven't really read it a whole lot. And whenever I do read it, it's never anything good. So
Yeah. I would say Numbers because it's particularly boring in my opinion.
it's pretty dry.
Yeah.
And coming around with what favorite book of the Bible?
I mean, I like Exodus. the Exodus story is just brilliant, and I love it.
Like, gonna come at you with another stereotypical answer, Esther.
Nice. Tell me more. What do you love about Esther?
Oh, she is just, that was the first book I was introduced to when I first started going to church as a teenager. They were doing a sermon series on Esther.
Oh, wow.
And she, I think, exemplifies a lot of bravery, but yet fear that a lot of people have when standing up for things that, you know, might harm them. And I think she speaks a lot to today, and her story and her courageousness in spite of the odds not being in her favor.
So you love Esther, but you don't love Elizabeth Bennet. I don't understand.
I'm sorry.
Let's do it.
Maybe I should give it another read when seminary's done.
Fair enough.
You think you'll have time. I'm looking at my list of questions here. What other than theology, other than Esther, other than SpongeBob, what is one thing that makes you like geek out? What do you nerd out about? What are you passionate about that some people that many people don't know?
I love I love anime, like Japanese cartoons and TV shows, and
That's you talked about Avatar: The Last Airbender, isn't that?
yeah,
That's anime. Mm-hmm.
so or sort of. It's America's attempt at anime, and it worked.
Okay, American
I don't-
anime. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think diehard anime people would consider Avatar anime.
That's
But I read all the manga books, and I read all the conspiracy theories and all the other different theories about characters and stuff from all the shows that I like. It's pretty esoteric. I don't know. It's just I feel like I'm not really making sense right now, but I like a lot of anime.
The form and function of anime for you there were spot on, right? Because you're not making sense. I don't understand it.
Yes,
it's perfect.
exactly.
It's perfect. That's great. Jordan, what about you?
I would say one of my favorite things that I love is that I was a Girl Scout growing up, and I did it all the way through high school. So I love talking about scouting, which is super fun for me. I also, admittedly and shamefully a little bit, love The Bachelor, Bachelorette. I know I shouldn't. It's something I'm coming to grips with, but it is very entertaining television. If you ever want to talk about that or any of the other reality television shows available to us,
You're here for it.
October 13th, right, Jordan? I think that's
yes.
Right. We can.
Can't wait.
We can't talk about Pride and Prejudice, but we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Two questions in the chat. Annabelle wants to know if you like Fairy Tale, Rajeev.
I have not watched that one. It's a newer one. I think it came out like 2010. I haven't really watched it. But I like a lot of the classic stuff. So like Dragon Ball Z, Inuyasha, Gundam, One Piece, Naruto. I sound like a total nerd. Trust me. Like, I know.
I love it so much. What are your favorite hobbies? That question from Tom.
Jordan, you can go.
Oh, I probably hiking, especially right now and around here. I love hiking. I also love listening to audiobooks and podcasts. I am not a podcaster, nor am I a book writer, a novelist.
Yet.
But I love listening to them, and they're very fun. So, favorite place to hike around here. I go up to Eno a lot. In exploring North Carolina, I've gotten to go out to Asheville and hike a little bit, which has been super fun because it is flat land in Texas. So got to get it all in now.
Nice. I love I love to cook. Um, this summer during quarantine, uh, I watched a ton of like Gordon Ramsay videos and watched Kitchen Nightmares all the time, and I learned how to like perfect cooking and like how to use a bunch of different spices perfectly. Like I said, my mom, we're Indian, so she knows how to like cook very well. Um, so I learned a lot from her. I can make deep dish pizza pretty well, I think, and chicken gyros very well. I like to cook. I like to play disc golf a lot. Uh, I like to play ultimate frisbee. Um, and I like to. I don't know if this is even a hobby, but I like to drive. I just like to go drive places. If I'm bored, I'll just like go explore Durham or explore the Triangle or whatever, and I just like to do that. It's not a cheap hobby because I'm just wasting gas, but I like to drive.
I want to give you both a break briefly because you've been on the hot seat now for about 20 minutes. Just like rapid fire lightning round. What questions do you have for us? Turn the tables.
I don't want to just like ask a super simple question like, "What's your favorite thing about the local church?" Because I do want to
I'd
know.
like to know that also. Yeah.
Actually, let's start with that. What's your favorite thing about the local church?
Nothing.
All right.
If I had to make a list,
Next question.
House of Bob.
if I had to make a list, Brent,
What do you like most about the local church, and why is Brent your top answer?
I was gonna say Brent is my last answer. Like if there was a list.
I
Brent-
actually like that better. Yeah.
Brent who?
Oh, did
I
say
love the
that
local
wrong?
church
Like
already.
Brant or something? Brant? Is that his name? I don't know.
He does something. I don't know what he does, but
Well, I personally, like, this is one of my favorite things is just kind of this connection and how we've been able, I think, to stay connected as a church throughout this whole weird season.
Mm-hmm.
Something
we,
that the
yeah,
church.
we like Allie.
Yeah, Allie's so much better.
Same.
Yeah, I just think the value that the church places on connection and saying friendships and relationships, that kind of thing.
I like how non-traditional it is, but it is traditional. I mean, we've been at several locations around the country, and we've always gone to a contemporary service in a church that offered traditional and contemporary. But I like how this is the local church. I don't think is it traditional, is it contemporary? It's the local church. And I've never experienced such a warm and welcoming church in all of the places that we've been to.
Yep. Amen.
I love that.
Except for Zach. Oh, sorry.
Comes to the territory, I guess.
Yeah, it does.
As you can see, everyone is quite genuine. No one really,
Yeah.
as you can see, everyone doesn't have to put on their facade. They don't have to get into church mode. Everyone knows they can come as they are, and if they've had a rough week, they can bring their rough week with them and feel a little better when you leave, for sure. And yes, we've got all the components of what you need out of church in your soul, and the things, if you grew up in a church, then you're getting those needs met as far as what you feel from your historical religious background that you have gotten accustomed to. But if you did not grow up in a church, you're going to come in and not be lost. You're not going to feel like you're being judged. You can just, as Brent always says, wherever you are, you just come on in and we'll take you as you are.
I love that.
Oh, that's a tough question to follow. Hmm, maybe on a lighter note, what's your favorite brewery in the area?
Oh, wow. Oh.
Dan, are you having a hard time picking just one?
Yeah, there's like, can we just do the trail? It's like what's your favorite beer first? And then what kind of beer do you like?
I have to admit, I don't know much. I really like pale ales and hoppy beers.
Oh,
Those are the beers I like the most.
near Duke. Ponysaurus would be good near you. Or Highwire. You
have-
put a Ponysaurus and Highwire right there. That'd be
Yeah.
they just walk between them.
Oh, cool.
Good advice.
We live in Chapel Hill. Matt can't drink at breweries, but we go to Steel String a lot, and that's probably one of our favorite spots.
Yeah.
We like the vibes there a lot, but also the beer is really good.
That's cool.
Uh,
Well, now that we know where you go, we'll have to come.
We haven't been
been in
since
a-
the pandemic.
in a while.
We haven't been in a really long time. We bought their beer for our wedding, but we haven't been actually there in a long time.
oh,
But we
yeah.
can go. We can meet up outside. They have great outdoor seating. So.
Yeah.
they do.
If you're not sure, you can always go to House of Hops and
Right.
just taste test
Right.
all the different beers and then go visit the breweries
Right.
you like the best.
Honestly, I'm ashamed that wasn't our first answer.
Well, it's not technically a brewery.
Thank you,
This event
Chris.
hosted by
Yeah.
Sponsored by-
It's not a
brew
brewery,
house.
but it'll help guide you to what
That's
breweries
right.
you want to
You're
visit.
right. Okay.
They're
fair.
so knowledgeable. They had their first House of Hops experience yesterday, but we were there before they opened, and so did not get to taste test anything. But
Huh.
I'm confident it won't be your last,
Right.
your last trip. So,
She made me a hoppy 6-pack.
that's right.
So, yeah, stuff is pretty good.
When you're out hiking, if you go into Asheville, they got some great breweries.
Oh.
You got
Yeah.
Boone has some great beers. So as you're hiking,
Yeah.
drink some for me.
Asheville's like the brewery capital, right? Like
Yeah,
they have
there's a lot.
more breweries per capita than any
Really?
city, I think, is what
Wow,
I've
I didn't
heard.
know
Something
that.
like that.
So,
Something like that.
I need to explore North Carolina more because I only know Durham, and I didn't share this, but I went to East Carolina University for a year, and then I transferred back to VCU, so I know Greenville, but
Oh.
I wasn't really too impressed with Greenville. So, but Durham is better. So I need to go to Asheville.
yeah.
All right. Well, it's time to put the questions back on you, Jordan and Rajeev. We're gonna go a little more serious, I think. Just a little more, not as light, not heavy, but
Mhm.
just a little more serious. So, how do you feel about raisins? First, that's an important question.
I love raisins.
Terrible texture.
Oh man,
Sorry.
I love
I like
raisins.
grape.
You like grapes? You like wine? Do you like wine?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like wine.
Mhm.
2 out of 3 of the forms, unless there's another.
Sure.
way to
Sure.
prepare. Jam?
Rajeev, did you answer?
What's my opinion on raisins?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like them.
Okay. Okay. Cool. What gives you hope?
I
Your
want to say
silence
moments
is-
like this. I mean, just I don't know if this is like a good answer, but like people give me hope. Like knowing that there are people like you all right here that like are helping the world and like engaging in conversations like this and are part of a church that has like a statement on anti-racism. Like things like that give me hope. Because anytime you turn on the TV, you just see like the worst parts of the world. But at least I know that there's, 10 people right now who are at least all on the same page.
Yeah. I think similarly, stories give me hope, and stories of people and their experiences and how they've grown and what they've learned. I think that brings me a lot of joy in seeing what we can learn from each other and what we can learn from each other's communal experiences and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about your religious upbringing a bit. What was that like? If there was one.
Yeah. Jordan, you can go first if you want.
Okay. Yeah, I was not raised in a religious household. I was raised by people who, at the time, claimed to be atheists. And so that was really fun. I was always very curious about church. I was asked adamantly to go to church. And one day my mother said yes. And now we're here. So
the rest is history.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. I was raised Christian. I was United Methodist growing up. My great grandfather was a bishop in India in the Methodist Church, and my grandmother on my dad's side she got some degree in some kind of sacred music from Union Seminary in Richmond, and she traveled the world singing and doing like music stuff. So I was raised a Methodist and baptized and confirmed, and then somewhere around college I kind of drifted from the Methodist Church and joined like contemporary like Hillsong and Elevation type skinny jean pastor churches, and have been a part of that kind of contemporary tradition for a while. But coming to Duke has been nice because it's kind of brings me back to my roots a little bit.
You've come home in some ways, yeah.
Yeah.
The prodigal has returned. Is that?
I mean, it's the hymns they just come back to me so naturally. So, yeah, I've been Christian for as long as I can remember.
What person in the Bible do you most identify with today, right now?
Go ahead, Jordan. I think you have an answer.
No. I would say, honestly, Peter. I think Peter is a very passionate person and has a lot of joy and goodness. He's also very open and loud and outspoken sometimes, to the point where it can harm other people. And so I think learning that balance is something that Peter had to go through, and that's something I also am having to go through. And so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would say probably David. My middle name is David. So my parents also love
name.
King David. And I don't know, there are moments where he was super humble, super quiet, and there are also moments where he was super loud and super wrong about things and messed up a ton. But in the end, he still kind of knew where his heart was, and like the Lord was still on his side. So I think David is somebody that I really identify with, because I'm like that. I can be really humble, and then I can be really loud, really in your face. So yeah.
What is God teaching you right now?
I think with everything happening right now in 2020, I think it's okay to stay in a place of grief, to stay in a place of lament. I've always seen grief and lament as just like a quick temporary little thing, but you need to pick yourself back up and trust in the Lord and move on. But I think we learn a lot when we just kind of sit in grief. And I think I've been learning that it's okay to be in that place.
That's really good, Rajeev. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I would say God is currently teaching me how to just be, and recognizing where I should just be instead of do. I often tell my friends, you're a human being, not a human doing, but I do not embody that. And even in a time where we're all stuck at home, it feels like it's go, go, go. And so teaching, like learning Sabbath and the Lord, like really telling me, like, you know, you really need to take a break and like have a consistent break and like be with yourself and meditate and be with God. That's something I've really had to learn recently. So.
Those are both phenomenal answers and reminders. Jordan, I totally relate to telling other people, you know, but not necessarily embodying it yourself. That knowing that we are kindred Enneagram numbers, I wonder if that has something to do with that. But yeah, so one of the things about me and about the local church is we love our mantras around here. You know, love where you are, embrace the awkward. Where Ali and Matt, what happened? What happened just there?
Well, the whole time Jordan was talking, I was like, Jordan, you just gotta love where you are.
Love where you are.
Be where you're at and love where you are. And I typed it out, and Matt was like, I don't see the connection.
No, I just didn't react even. I was like, I don't know what you're getting at here. You're just throwing the brand at everyone again.
Yeah, because it applies. And then friends, this word.
This is why we work well together. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I wonder, what are some words of wisdom that you carry with you? Like, is there a saying? Is there a phrase? My dad growing up would always say, think before you speak. And like, that's just embedded. I'd still need to like listen. I don't do that well. Like I need that still. But are there mantras? Are there words of wisdom that you carry with you to this day?
Something I learned at a sorority retreat. I was in a Christian sorority in college, and I've kind of adapted it to fit my understanding of who God is now. It's called He, Me, We, but I always put a parentheses S next to the He because God transcends gender, and like, I would say God, me, we, but it doesn't rhyme. So, but it's always like he, like God is the most, yeah, she, yeah. Like God is the most important being in our lives, and then we are by virtue of that the most important people in our lives. And if we do not currently take care of ourselves where we are at and listen to that relationship the most, then our ability to be with the we is gone. And so you have to be the most important person in your life, which is hard for me because I love all people and I want to prioritize all people, but it is something that I've carried with me for a long time, saying like, I like have to prioritize my wants and my needs as well. And so in the goodness and understanding the goodness of God within that.
There are two things. My mom and dad would always tell me growing up to remember who I am, but also remember whose I am, is what my mom would always say. Like, remember whose you are. Like, you are the Lord's. Like, you are God's. So wherever you go, make sure that you are reflecting Him well, and whatever you do. So that, and then another thing, I'm a yes man. So have you all seen that movie with Jim Carrey where he just says yes to everything? And then it's eventually to his detriment. Like he keeps saying yes to he's like, why am I taking flying lessons? Like I don't need to learn how to fly a plane, but here I am because I said yes. In college, I had a mentor who taught me, he noticed this in me. He's like, you're taking on too many things. And he said, sometimes you need to say no to good things to say yes to greater things. And that was for real. I mean, that saying is kind of stuck with me. And like, I can't give you an example of like when that kind of played out like recently, but that is something that I always think about, is saying no to good things to maybe say yes to some greater things.
Anybody else have any questions for Jordan and Rajeev? Dan, you unmuted. Do you have one?
No, I just thought I'd unmute just in case. No question, but just we welcome you, and
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to have you both on. So,
Yeah.
we look forward to more time.
I really admire both of you for pursuing what you are pursuing.
Yeah.
Thank you. That affirmation is good for me.
Thank you.
I feel like we've talked a lot about, well, not a lot, but some about podcasts. I'd love to know what are 2 or 3 podcasts that you are digging right now. For me, it changes all the time. So like I have to say right now, I can't just say like favorite.
Let's see.
Rajeev, now's the time when you plug your podcast.
Is that wrong for me to say my podcast is one of my favorite podcasts? So I have been listening to a podcast called Very Presidential with Ashley Flowers, and it's like a history podcast where she gives us backstories of cool presidents, but also gives us like the scandalous stories that nobody really hears about. So it's like, yeah, you might have heard all these great things about Thomas Jefferson, but did you know? And then she goes into like all these things, and it's really done well. The latest episode is on Teddy Roosevelt, and I really like that one a lot. So it's called Very Presidential. And then another podcast I love to listen to is Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. If anybody knows Conan O'Brien, he's probably my favorite comedian. And his podcast is brilliant. It's so funny. I mean, he interviews people, and even if he doesn't know who they are, he can still find great connections with them and makes you laugh out loud. It's a great podcast.
You got to say something about yours. I just posted in the chat, but you gotta give a plug.
Oh, my podcast. It's called the Real Friends Podcast. And I just talk to my friends about things that they're passionate about. So really my 2 big topics are faith and culture, and where do they intersect. And it's kind of like the Relevant another podcast I like to listen to is the Relevant podcast. And I kind of took on after them. Just I like what they do, talking about intersections of faith and culture, and I have a lot of friends who are passionate about the same things as me, but they can better articulate them. So I give them a platform to talk about whatever they want. So my latest episode was on the movie industry. I have a friend who works for Marvel Studios and Warner Brothers out in California. And I just talked to him about movies and movies going forward as the pandemic continues. And then we listed like our top 5 like Christopher Nolan films together. So it's a fun podcast. Like there's no form to it. It's just about whatever I want. And that's what I love. Yes, it seems like Zach has a question. Zachary.
Zach is fine.
Zach.
I just put Zachary. You have a friend that works for Marvel Studios?
Yeah. His name is Ben Holden. And if you watch Avengers, he worked on Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, and the Ant-Man movies. He's a production assistant, so he helps with a lot of the reshoots.
Okay, I'm kind of obsessed with the MCU, so
that's really cool. Yeah, his name is in the credits. I don't know if you remember that big picture that they posted of the cast and crew when Endgame was over. He's in the very back left corner. You can see him.
That's awesome. I am insanely jealous of him.
Hi, Sarah.
He's got a cool gig.
Yeah, no kidding. Rajeev has a friend who works for Marvel Studios.
Yeah. That's a big deal.
He's moving to Chapel Hill next in the spring, I believe. So maybe you can meet him. And
well, if he needs a church,
I'll plug the local church.
Why is he moving from?
Because his boss was like, "There's no reason for you to come to the studio right now. So if you need to go move anywhere in the country, you can. But whenever it's time to make another Marvel movie,
we'll call you."
we'll call you back.
Yeah, well, Marvel just pushed all their movies back.
Yeah, so that's probably also why he has the freedom
The
to.
Black Widow one was coming out in November, and now it's pushed back to like May.
Yeah.
And then the Shang-Chi one got moved up in the order. We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a conversation with them about that. But
Cool.
we'll make that happen because that's crazy. What's going on with that?
Jordan, podcasts?
Yeah, nothing about superheroes, and I am so sorry. I have been really loving Michelle Obama's podcast, Becoming. It's so good. I got so involved in the podcast episode I was listening to yesterday that I drove to Raleigh instead of Pittsburgh. So I called Brent. I was like, I'm so sorry. But it's really Michelle Obama. Her podcast is so good.
Blame her.
I've also
Thanks, Obama.
I've also been listening to Jen Hatmaker's podcast, For the Love, where she's interviewed a lot of really cool people, and very similar to Rajeev's podcast, where it's like fields she's interested in but she doesn't know about. And then one of my favorite tried and true podcasts is called Not Your Little Lady, and it's about females' experience and throughout the world. And the host interviews a variety of women and their experiences, and it's a really fun podcast. So, yeah.
More on both that podcast and the MCU in just a few weeks. So stay tuned for that.
Yes, for real. Stay tuned.
Any other questions for Jordan and Rajeev? We're coming up on 50 minutes, and that's probably more than enough. Any other questions?
I do have a question for everybody. If no one has any more questions for us.
Go for it.
Okay, cool. It's a very dumb question, but it's very important in my life. What is the best restaurant bread that they bring to you at your table when you first sit down?
Nobody remembers. It's been so long since
If y'all remember restaurants, those places you go.
I don't know what I would say, but I know what Zach would say if he was in the room right now. Because he would say Olive Garden because he loves
The
olive.
breadsticks.
Yeah, the breadsticks. Never.
Bottomless.
We had a place in, where was that?
Rochester.
In Rochester, outside of Rochester, New York, near the Finger Lakes. I don't remember the name of it, but we called the waitress there the Devil Woman because she kept bringing that bread. It was so good that you just kept eating the bread. So I wish I could remember because it was like, it was way too good.
Mm.
Any yeasty bread.
Yeah, yeasties are good.
We maybe Red Lobster, those cheesy.
The cheddar biscuits.
Butter biscuits.
Butter biscuits are good.
Really good. Or maybe Outback.
Yeah, I liked O'Charlie's because those rolls are like 60% butter. Like all of them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, those are good.
Well, again, I'm bringing you back to Pittsburgh, but this is not really an answer to your question, but you just have to go to Phoenix Bakery and just get one of everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Phoenix Bakery.
It's really good.
Is that close to House of Hops? Is that?
It's about
Okay.
6 minutes, maybe. Yeah.
Everything's
Okay.
close.
It's
You might
Pittsburgh.
stop.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. You can stop for a sandwich and a beer at that other place. What's it?
Anybody heard of Lambert's? Home of the Throwed Rolls. Do you know Lambert's Throwed Rolls? So it
I was gonna say a different restaurant that throws rolls at you.
Really?
Okay, Brent. Yeah.
There's a place in, I only know it's in Sykeston, which is where my friend Jennifer is from. And when I went to visit her, like it's like the place you take everyone, you know, who comes to visit. Hey Audrey. But they have they throw the rolls at you Like, so you just like
Yeah.
throw your hand, raise your hand, and they'll throw the rolls. Hey Emma,
Yeah.
do you like bread?
That's kind of cool.
Some place
Yeah.
did that.
That's cool. I want to go there.
Okay.
Well, maybe we start doing that in church. We throw the rolls and then
Well,
you use it for
that might
communion.
be what we have to do. Yeah.
Right.
Once we get back together.
Right.
6 feet.
Long and gluten-free. Totally gluten-free.
Gluten free. Yeah.
The dough will probably be part
Nut
of it.
free, gluten free, but delicious.
But delicious.
Yes. Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Hi, Emma.
Oh, you painted your nail.
Hi, Audrey.
Hi, Sarah.
This is church right here. That's
It
church.
is.
Well, thanks for making time this afternoon, friends. It is good to be with you, and welcome, Jordan and Rajeev. So glad that you are with us,
Yeah.
and we look forward to so much more.
Thank you for being with us.
We're excited.
We're
Yeah.
excited, yeah.
Hi, Emma. Say hi,
Let me
girl.
offer a quick prayer. She's gone. She's gone. All right, let me pray. God, I thank you for Rajeev and Jordan for the ways that you have moved in their lives to bring them to this point, this moment with us. And God, we know that they are so much more than disembodied heads, and we cannot wait for the ways that we will experience their gift of ministry, the fruits of their labor, all evidence of your love and your work in their lives. We thank you for this time together, and look forward to the day when we can all be together in real life, fleshed, embodied once more. We pray these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.